There we go. All right.
There you go. The breasts come out. There it is.
Yeah.
That's a great shirt. Love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. Of course, my name's Ray. Mike's joining me this week. Unfortunately, Matt could not make it. Matt is not here. And we're being joined by Mikey D from the Dirty Ugly Wrestling Podcast.
What's up?
Featured guest, Al Snow. Al, how you doing, man? How's it going?
Legend, Al Snow. Man, I'm doing great. If I were doing any better, I'd be jealous of myself. So.
And of course, we're live on Facebook, and we have an event here on the Happy Hour podcast. You know, we started June of last year, and our first episode, Psycrotes was telling a story on, you know, we've all been independent wrestlers ourselves for many years, and Psycrotes basically went on this tangent about Al Snow. We're like, what the hell did Al Snow do? And so what I'm going to do is we told everybody at the beginning of the program we were going to let Psycrotes address his heat.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna be that guy. There it is.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Al sees Psycrotes, he's gonna shit his pants. At the mere sight of seeing the specimen that's about to sit down in front of him.
I apologize for what you had to endure here.
Here's what we're gonna do. If you want to come past Mike,
I'm sure that I've paid 50 cents to go to a carnival tent to see something similar. So
I'm gonna do my best to keep. I think I'm keeping Al off of Psycrotes here. I don't think it's the other way around. So we're gonna see when he pops into the picture here how this is gonna work out.
Okay.
Well, Psycro, you got to move over this way.
What are you doing? Why do you keep doing this?
This is not a good sign, Al. I think you got the overhand
you gotta
already.
Get in front of the camera, though.
Where's this one?
Yeah, you got to sit right next to Mike.
Okay.
You just got to be smarter than the camera.
He's sensitive to the light. He has to wear sunglasses.
Wow.
Oh, does he?
So the screen's hurting him. So Psycro, go ahead and just tell Al.
You gotta have me on camera.
Well, you got to come over here.
Put the thing back
All right,
there.
all right.
Stop putting the goddamn screen down.
This
Seriously,
is about Al Snow. Come on now.
Al Snow.
I'm a star. I gotta be on camera.
I'm trying to give him a little props. It's not working.
So address to Al Snow what your gripe is.
I
with
thought
him.
Mikey was gonna moderate.
So
I am moderate. Look,
Mikey D is gonna
what's the,
moderate this whole thing.
Mikey,
Well, everything
hold on.
went off rails.
All right, hold on. So what's
Mikey
the
D,
heat?
would you please moderate?
What's the heat?
yeah. So Psycrotes, go
Let's
ahead and
Let's get to
explain.
the bottom of this. Let's get
What's
to the
the
bottom
heat?
of it.
Go for it. Just jump right in.
Grievances. Get it off your so-called chest. Whatever, you know.
We're not locking up. It's a hot start. Just go in. Get up. Hey, sit the fuck down. Pardon my Jesus.
Mike,
Sit down.
Mikey D, you want to start the moderation?
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you what the story is. So again,
Yeah,
a long
please,
time
yeah.
ago, Psycrotes, okay, calling you out on his own, talking about how you kayfabed him a long time ago when he came over to you, started talking to you, and you just blew him off. And then also, apparently you did this, and another time you stole his finish. This is another thing. Yeah, you did.
I got beat.
Apparently, it's the heat that's been lasting 10, 20 years at this point. This was a long time ago.
So I stole his finish when I got beat.
Just tell the story.
Apparently, you did the job. Look, okay, so Psycrotes apparently has heat with you for not coming on and facing him, talking to him one-on-one. So now you have the opportunity to all this heat that apparently you have with this guy.
Okay, here's how. Okay.
So go ahead and take the first shot because he's not even getting in. Oh, is he taking his pants off? What the hell's going on here?
Yes, he's taking his pants off.
No, hey, don't.
Okay.
You're gonna poke my eye out with that. Come on now.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the photo lens, not anything else.
We got a fucking man on set. I want to.
Al's about to get pneumonia again. Come on, stop this.
Okay. Let me preface this by saying I'm a big fan of Al. I have been since the ECW days. However, there are a few minor grievances that I would like to air on the podcast if I may be inclined to do.
Go right ahead.
July 24th, 1999.
I love that he remembers the date. Right. Exactly. He remembers the date when
Al can't remember his own birthday. He just told you
cut my
this.
promo. July 24th, 1999. A young gentleman named the High Priest made his pro wrestling debut. Okay. And there to do an autograph signing was Mr. Al Snow. So I had my match against future Indie Star Ruckus. I hit him with my finish, which at the time was the reverse stunner, which I call the Psycho Stunner. A week later, Al's doing this move on Raw. And I'm like, did Al Snow actually steal my finish? I mean, I know I'm awesome. I just had one match and I'm the best worker in the business, but he stole my finish. So, that happened. I'm like, okay, it's fine. He can do it. He's a star. He's on TV and I'm not. So let's fast forward 9 years until October 2008.
Okay.
We were in a nightclub in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
This was steaming up for 10 years. Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah.
We were doing a show for John Rambo and the NWL in Pittsburgh, and the night before, all in nightclub. Al was there. So I said to my buddy Blood, I said, I'm going to go over and say hello to Al. He's sitting there by himself. So I walk over to Al. Yeah. And I say, hey, Al, nice to see you again. The last time I saw you was when I had my first match back in 99. And I was trying to be nice and strike up a conversation. And Al looks at me and he just says, that was a long time ago. and I walked back to my buddy and I said, I think Al Snow just kayfabed me. I'm like, what is this guy's deal? He steals my finish, then he kayfabes me. I'm like, I'm the high priest. I'm just trying to get some respect here. So what I did when Al didn't show up on the podcast last time in May, I had a special shirt made.
Right.
I had to do it because
I didn't show up because I was scared of the heat we had.
Al's shivering in his boots. By the way. Like, he's so terrified.
I had a special shirt made because
you can't see it, but he's there. Oh boy.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. So all I ask, look at both sides there. Yeah. All I ask, I mean, Roman Reigns isn't the only person who needs to be acknowledged. Okay. All I ask is for Al Snow, former WWE legend, to acknowledge the high priest. That's all I ask.
Well, can I rebut? Can I respond to your?
Go right ahead.
Okay. First off, if I took your finish, I apologize because quite honestly, like I wouldn't have remembered where I saw it if I did it. Secondly, trust me when I tell you, if by chance I seemed like I big timed you, I apologize. Because when I say things like, well, that was a long time ago, it's because I honestly don't know how long ago it was. And I tell people all the time, this is legit. Like, if I meet you on a show and I'll meet you like a couple months later, I might not remember that I met you the first time.
You don't see me bitching about it. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Al.
We'll acknowledge the high priest, brother. I'll put everybody over. I mean, it's hard enough these days to get acknowledgement. So, you're acknowledged.
Smile. And, look at that smile on Psycrotes.
Wow.
Hey, hold on. Wait. Shut up. You had your chance. Okay, let me finish. Okay. And I'm being sincere. Okay. You seem like a good guy, good kid. So, I apologize for May. I was worried that I was going to miss tonight because I literally walked back in the door about 5 minutes ago, but I made it, and I hope that we've squashed this heat and you can go on and live the rest of your life heat free.
It's official. The heat is squashed.
The heat is squashed. Good.
This heat.
Wait.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I want to be like a Frigidaire, heat free and frost proof. So
Ray, what is today? July 25th?
Today's July 25th. Yes.
Hardcore legend Al Snow and hardcore legend the High Priest are officially heat free.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah. Awesome.
So,
that's a load off my shoulders, guys. That's carrying that burden, carrying that load, carrying that weight on my shoulders, knowing that I had the responsibility of heat with Psycrotes. That was wearing me out, boys. I got to tell you. So
here's the interesting thing. Psycrotes has been building that for 20 years, 22 years, and Al Snow just diffused it in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, Al Snow remember stuff from 2 decades ago, and it's Psycrotes just remembers, well, Al Snow took my finish. It's like, you assume Al Snow took your finish. And when he said that, I was like, do you mean the snowplow? He was like, no. And he told me what the move was, and I was like, I don't even think I've even seen Al Snow ever do that move.
I don't think I've ever done it, but
not that I know of. A reverse stunner.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I saw Danny Doring do it on ECW before I ever did it. So.
Wow.
So you stole
it from him. So Danny Doring has 25 years of heat with you.
Yeah. Now we need to get Danny Doring on so you can admit to him that you stole his finish.
I didn't steal it.
God.
I was doing
in 5 years on that one.
On a serious note, I'm sorry. These guys are jackasses. Can I ask you, sir?
Yeah.
How it was breaking in with Gene and Ole Anderson?
Well, I didn't actually break in with Gene and Ole. What I did was I went down there for a tryout, and you've got to understand that at that time it was a very closed, very secular business, and the idea of training people was a different world than what it is now. It is way too easy and way too accessible to get into the business these days.
I agree with that 100%.
Everybody can play nowadays. Yeah. Yes.
Back in the day, you were held personally accountable for whoever you broke into the business. It was very much like an apprenticeship that you served under somebody else, and their reputation rode on your back. And if you did anything to hurt business, then those guys suffered the consequences, and it affected their livelihood. So guys weren't too willing to do that. And if you did anything like what Ole and Gene arranged, which was a tryout, really it was basically to take a bunch of people who thought that they knew what wrestling was like and really smarten them up to just how hard and physically tough it was. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, it's funny because I've told this story for years now, and Ole actually describes that tryout in his book, and I read it and I was like, yep, that's exactly what they did.
Talking about you. Yep.
Well, he wasn't talking about me specifically, but he was talking, there were about 30, 35 guys that day, back in 81, 82, I think it was 82. No, it was 81, end of 81. It was like in October of 81, I think. And, I went down to Charlotte, and we started out with 35 guys. By the end of the day, I think we had maybe 9 or 10 that basically just survived. I mean, they started out with a 5-mile run around the back parking lot of the old Charlotte Coliseum to warm up. And then you came in and you did 500 squats. And then you ran the stairs up and then down and then over and then up and then down and then over all the way around the Coliseum. Then you came down and you did 400 push-ups, whether you did them all consecutively, however you got them done, it didn't matter, you were going to do them. And then you did jumping jacks, and then you put somebody on your back and you ran the length of the Coliseum and back until it was your turn to get in the ring.
Around and did the run with them.
And then you finally got in the ring, and they had Ole had 5 trainees. The biggest was probably right now I'm 240, so I'd be the mid-sized guy. The top guy was maybe 270, 280, just jacked, and he was teaching them all how to belly a guy out and grapevine their leg and rear chin lock them and submit them. And you would start with the first one, and if you made it through, you'd get to the 5th one, and if you made it through them, typically you got in with Ole, who basically hooked you and hurt you. And Ole wasn't there when they passed out the releases, so I signed Gene's name to the release, and Gene got in and proceeded to fish hook me to where he split my lips open and tore over my gums. He was grabbing my hair. I later found out when in the hotel room, I had bite marks all over my back. He slammed my face against the bottom rope, which is actually just aircraft cable, and broke my nose. And we were rolling around. He tried to grab my nuts, and so I grabbed his, and he rolled me over on my back and had his thumb against my eye and was screaming, "Do you want to lose your eye, kid?" as I kept a hold of his nuts. And then all of a sudden, Ole became the voice of discretion and reasonability, and stopped everything. And I went to get up. I was all bloody, and Gene kicked me in the ass and told me to get out of the ring, and went back, cleaned myself up, reset my nose, walked back out, shook his hand, asked him what time the show was that night, came back and bought a ticket and watched it.
Wow. So after all that, Al, was there even a little part of you that thought for a second, like, maybe this isn't for me?
No, not at all. Not at all. I've never had a plan B. It's always just been the thing that I knew that I had to do.
How long after that initial break-in and you came back to the show, came back the next day, how long was it before you actually had a match in the ring? How long did it take you to get there?
Next, the following May 22nd of 1982, I had my very first match.
Wow.
And I've been doing it ever since for a living. So,
and actually, Al just celebrated his birthday, so happy belated birthday, Al!
Thank you. Thank you.
Podcast, and let me tell you, you are in phenomenal shape. If I could be anywhere close to the shape that you are in when I make it to that age, you're in better shape than I am, and I'm 37 years old.
I'll be 40 next week. I'm half crippled.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's not hard to be in good shape when you're
at your age.
It's not hard to be in remarkable shape when you're 58 years old. So, it's
being 50,
the bar is pretty low.
You have a secret to maintain the shape? Like, is it all conditioning? Is it all weightlifting? How you look awesome at your age?
I don't know if it's not a secret, but I started several years ago. I Googled George Hackenschmidt. He's an old time wrestler from back in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
The very first world champion, 1905. yes.
And he looked amazing. And that sparked my interest. And I was like, I don't know what these guys are doing or what the way they were training, because they didn't know what calories were. They didn't know what protein was. They didn't know what carbs were, and they certainly didn't have steroids. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start training like these guys.
Yeah.
And I've been training like that for
bells, just several years, all that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And it made a big difference for me. For me, it worked. I mean, for some people, maybe it won't, but for me, it did. It was the thing that really helped.
So Al, if we could jump ahead a little bit, the thing that really got you on the map as far as a mainstream star was the head gimmick in ECW. Now, we all know in the business, sometimes it's just the weirdest, oddest things that get over and nobody knows why. So when that really started hitting and people were just going nuts for it, I mean, were you thinking it was going to last? Were you thinking, what was in your mind when that really started getting over?
When you're in the moment at the time, I mean, you're so deep in the forest, you can't see any other trees, and you're just trying to figure out what it is that got you over, why it got you over, and then how you can keep doing it to keep getting yourself over, and keep that audience wanting to relate to you and wanting to be you. That's the most important thing. And when you get like that, it's called what we call in the business a run. You get a run, and you want that run to last as long as possible, because it's not a matter of when it'll end, it's a matter, or if it'll end, it's a matter of when it'll end. But you got to try to really understand and know what it is that the audience is relating to and why they're relating to it, and then how you can capitalize on that and make it that run last as long as possible.
And
was it? Sorry, go ahead.
With that too, in WWE, they kind of evolved that a little bit, because you had Pepper, you had Pepe, you had
Pierre.
Pierre. That's what it was, Pierre. And thinking of that, like I was saying, and I just saw a trailer for that movie, the new Nicolas Cage movie called Pig, where he has this prize truffle pig and somebody takes it. And the only thing that popped through my head was, someone stole that pig. They should grind that pig up and make him eat the pig. And the first thing I thought of was the Al Snow.
Oh, the boss man
from the big boss.
Good old Ray trailer.
Yes. But instead of dogs, it's pigs running around in the kennel from hell.
Listen, even in porn, they know not to work with children or animals, because they're always
well, mostly in porn.
Well, the concept of that match, like if they would have taken the dogs out of that blue cage inside of the Hell in a Cell, I think that would have just been great, just alone, like without the dogs.
But that was the issue is that they had made the crux of the story, the gimmick of the story, the dogs, and then they needed highly trained animals, which I proposed and pitched for from the very start. And then that day that we showed up in Charlotte, they had
run around.
Dogs that they had gotten from a local
kennel,
like not even a kennel. They got a list of owners that had Rottweilers from a veterinarian clinic, and every dog had a different owner, and one dog had some obedience training. So you can't use them. You can't use them. And now the whole story of the match is built around those dogs, and you can't use them. So it's a failure from the start.
Backtracking again. You've had a reputation from Jim Cornette, even as the best kept secret in wrestling for a long time, and you're like, I wish I wasn't a secret. You know, like. So, what are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on Jim Cornette?
I love Jimmy, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for Jimmy. And Jimmy is a great mind, and he has a great understanding of the wrestling business. I agree 100% with Jimmy that the wrestling business hasn't changed. It's grown, it's evolved, it's developed, which it always has over the entire length and breadth of it, but it's never changed as far as what we're really selling. And that ultimately, when people say that, it's a lazy excuse or justification.
Like he always says, lazy booking. You know,
it for both booking and performance in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes that's the greatest thing about wrestling, is that you're only limited by your own imagination and creativity, both in the ring and out. But you've got to do it within the context of a competitive situation. And when you go outside the bounds of that, then you're no longer selling what the audience is paying to see. And as far as being the best kept secret, that was really my own fault, because of the fact that I had not developed a persona. That's the most valuable thing that a wrestler can do, is create the ability for you, the fan, to describe them in a sentence or less to their friends and family. The more that you can describe me in a sentence or less, the more successful I am. The less you can do that, the less of a box office attraction I am. It's that simple.
So in that aspect, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Mike, but I just wanted to, the transition, say, from ECW, where you had sort of a main event gimmick and you were working for Paul, and in that smaller, construct, but you had more creativity probably over there. Then you go working. No, was it all
I
Paul?
had just as much creativity in WWE.
Really? That's what I was going to say, the difference between Paul and Vince.
The difference is that I still was focused on the wrong things and was trying to be a great wrestler, and not a great box office attraction. I was trying to have a great match and not a match that drew money. I took opportunities, and instead of capitalizing on them and sometimes being selfish and making myself a star, I was more concerned about, getting critical acclaim and it being a great match, and instead of it being a match that motivated people to want to see me on a more regular basis.
Well, working at Smoky Mountain, when it was Al Snow and Unabomb, how did that compare to being the New Rockers with Marty Jannetty, on a grand stage?
There really was no comparison. Both, like Unabomb and I, were a different gimmick. I was supposed to be the chicken shit heel that ran his mouth and started fights. And, Unabomb, Glenn Jacobs was the heater that came and shut the thing down. And then, the heat would have been on eventually seeing me get my ass kicked. But, I did it wrong, and I spent too much time in the ring instead of putting Glenn more at the forefront physically. And the one with Marty Jannetty, I mean, I've said this many a times, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Marty, I think, is the most underappreciated, undervalued talent in the history of wrestling. I don't think he gets quite the proper due that he deserves, or the respect of being just how good he really was and still is. I think if it had been any other thing than the New Rockers, I think that it would have done a lot better, because Marty would have put his heart into it. But I think Marty saw it as kind of a knock on what he and Sean, which I completely understand. I don't blame him. As a result, I just don't think Marty's heart was ever totally in it. And so we had the run that we had, and we had, and then it came to an end. And also partly because he had injured his ankle during the time, and he just only recently got that fixed. And he left and went to WCW, that was where I had a bad attitude, and I was pointing the finger at everybody else but myself, and trying to, put the responsibility on everybody instead of where it really laid, which was with me. And I tried to quit WWF. I think I'm probably the only guy in history of WWF that tried to do that. And they wouldn't, but not just tried to quit, but they wouldn't let me. They rolled over my contract. And that's how I ended up, with the grace of God and Chris Candido. I got into, I was put on loan.
Chris Candido.
So Al, staying on the topic real quick of your former tag team partners. One of my favorite things you ever did was your tag team with Steve Blackman, because I've always loved odd couple tag teams. So
sure.
What was it like, being with this guy who's a legit, martial arts badass, and trying to, bring out his personality, get him over more as a, not just a wrestler, but a personality. Was that hard to do? How did he feel about it? What was that whole experience like?
It was a blast, outside the ring. I mean, Steve and I had a great chemistry, and I really enjoyed everything we got to do in regards to the vignettes and everything. It got to the point to where we were like one of the highest rated segments on SmackDown every week on TV. And we had basically a show within a show. So it was awesome. In the ring, we were a little bit on different pages, and we didn't click quite as well, but we still did great together, both in and out. And I know I'd heard a rumor that there was talk at one point that they were about giving us the tag team titles, but
yeah,
there was talk. I mean, we were really over. We really got over as a team, and Steve's an awesome guy. I mean, he really, really, truly is. Granted, he's an awesomely dangerous guy too. So, I've got to say awesome guy, or he might hunt me down and kill me.
Another thing I really enjoyed, for some reason I always popped for, was Pierre the Deerhead.
Yeah.
So number one, where did that idea come from? And number two, how much of a pain in the ass was it dragging that thing around everywhere?
It was a major pain in the ass. Where it came from was, and I'd always had the idea of the fact that because of my on-screen affliction, that I had schizophrenia with the transference disorder, that whenever I would lose any object, say like I'd lose the head, I would then start to transfer that schizophrenia onto another object, or onto like Pepper the dog, who I spoke to and I heard voices from, and so Pierre, I found it at it was like a swap meet outside the San Diego arena. And I went out and bought it. It was an old ratty deer head. And I think I paid like $125 or something for it, which was ridiculous because that thing was moth eaten and it was missing an eye. And, so that's why we put the one human eye in it. And I named it Pierre for Pierre Olette, PCO. And started talking to Pierre, and Pierre got over. I mean, after Bob destroyed Pierre, Russo was, he was like, damn, I wish, we hadn't have done that. I wish we'd have kept it around, because they really loved it. So
there could have been some big merch out of that.
Well, and one thing I have to admit is I stole something from Al. When I had my Harvey the Hatchet gimmick, I was talking to the Hatchet. I got that directly from him and all of that. So.
And what we're going to do real quick for everybody listening at home, we're going to take a little break, play some songs, get a word in from some of our sponsors, and we'll be right back. For those of you watching live, we just keep on rolling this on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Happy Hour podcast. Of course, I'm Ray. Mike's here with us. Psycrotes got the addresses. Heat Thou Snow. Mikey D is here.
Thank goodness. That's off my chest. That's off my back. Finally, that monkey's gone. Cheers.
And of course, Al Snow is here with us. And what we normally do is after break, normally we get into our beer of the week and our featured shot. So this week, our beer of the week is Dead Rise Old Bay Ghost. So for those of you watching at home, that's what it looks like. It actually has Old Bay seasoning inside of it. It's probably one of the most saltiest beers
you're familiar with Baltimore. Old Bay is a thing here.
No, he's been to Jimmy's. I've seen it. I saw his picture on the wall at Jimmy's Famous Seafood.
All right.
And actually, Al is going to be coming.
Halliburton Avenue. Yeah.
Al's going to be coming in, I think, for an autograph signing for Baltimore Celeb Fest. I believe it's in October. He's going to do that. So shout out
to be there.
Yeah. So shout out to them. Al Snow is going to be doing an autograph signing for them, and shout out to Dogfish Head and Dead Rise for their Old Bay Ghost. And what we're going to do is we're going to get into our featured shot. Mike, are you going to do this as well?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So here we go. Of course, our featured shot for those of you who have never seen the show, or for those of you who haven't seen the show in a while. Our featured shot is Deep Eddy Orange Vodka. So
Deep Eddy?
Yeah, Deep Eddy. Way deep down inside
Deep
of
in
Eddy. Yeah, and
Deep in Eddy.
just dive in. So we're diving into Eddy right now. That's what we're doing.
Well, hold on, I'll go get a shot too. I mean, I can't. I don't want to be left out.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
No, I'm the only one here that's not drinking.
I'm gonna take a shot of Yingling because that's gonna be good.
Yeah, the spider. Yeah, that's pretty badass. And then after this, of course, we are going to get into our Ode to Humanity segment, which is going to be really fun. So we'll be doing that with Al Snow momentarily also. And what we'll do is we'll do our cheers. We'll cheers with Al. Once Al gets back, he's getting a shot himself. I'm pretty sure he needs one after doing that. He came right from it. He said on the pre-show, he came right from his autograph signing and right in the door and got right onto the show. That's commitment.
Much appreciated.
That's fantastic.
And I don't think Psycrotes would have been able to handle it.
And when Al comes back with his shot, we need to give Mikey D 5 minutes to do his own thing.
Oh, yeah. After the games. Yep. And so, Al, what are you taking a shot of?
I just recently got this. I'm usually a bourbon drinker, but I've got some rum that is finished in a port cask. It is
nice
bamboo rum, and it is finished in a port cask, and it is
delicious. Nice. So here we go, Al. Cheers.
Cheers, Al.
Cheers, Al.
There you go.
Cheers to the squashed heat of him and Psycrotes.
Yes, let's
now live a
let's
peaceful
finally, thank God we've killed the heat. I've bared that cross for too long.
Al, you can finally
like
rest
what-
easy at night. You have no heat with Psycrotes anymore.
It's like what Dave Mustaine and Metallica made up.
now
I feel
we're gonna
I
get
feel so much better that now that heat's gone. Oh,
yeah, Al doesn't have to
rest
wake up
easy.
thinking
You
to
can
himself,
rest
Psycrotes has heat with me.
I couldn't sleep all these years, and I didn't even know why. And it was because this was
Thought it might
lingering
have been
out there.
insomnia, but it was the
Festering.
Psycrotes thing.
Yeah, this was festering like an open wound, like a giant herpes, just hanging on.
Giant herpes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Psycrotes is now going to be called the
The giant herpy.
He's now going to be the giant herpy of the podcast.
This is how gimmicks are created.
You're such a dry, witty sense of humor. Where do you
Just
get
a giant weeping sore that just festered for years.
Or who?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Enjoying some more of that rum.
Okay. Al, sorry. You have such a dry, witty sense of humor. Do you have any comic influences? Because you're a real entertaining guy.
His Twitter's the best.
Thank you.
Yes,
The jokes he leaves on his Twitter.
You're so dry. You're like,
yeah.
bam, bam. Just
I'm from a different era, so I grew up with comedians like Don Rickles and
Don Rickles.
and then when I got older, Richard Pryor and guys like that. I mean, they were, what's his name? Get No Respect.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yes.
No respect.
And even older comedians like Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca and those they used to. I used to as a kid. I'd watch. It was an old TV show called Your Show of Shows, and they'd replay it late at night, and I'd watch it and just sit there and laugh till I cried. It was awesome. So I've always enjoyed making people laugh and making people, and I find in life, genuinely, I find irony and absurdity to be the most funny stuff. And stuff that other people get upset about, I find so funny and I find so hilarious. So I try to share that, and I try to put stuff up on social media that people at least make them smile, might not make them laugh, but at least instead of all the negative BS that's up there, and and I just try to have fun.
Just we've all noticed. We're like, you're hilarious, and I just had to ask.
I got to ask a follow up, Al. Okay. Who was the funniest guy you ever shared the locker room with?
Oh, Dutch Mantel is hilarious. He is. Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette is funny too. He is really.
Yes.
Dutch. All right.
Yeah, those guys. Some of those older guys, man, they got a wicked sense of humor, and there's no topic that's off limits, especially when you're in the locker room or you're in the wrestling business. I remember one time we were at Impact Wrestling, and Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond, had just had his daughter not that long ago, and Bubba Dudley started coming over and asking him about how old she is, what she looks like, and how he's going to start getting her ready to be a rat and take her down to the Jersey Shores. And I'm looking and I'm like, in no other business could another employee walk up to another employee and basically start to infer that they were going to take the guy's daughter and, trick her out when she becomes old enough.
My God. And what we're going to do real quick is we're going to get into our Ode to Humanity segment. So pretty much we have 3 games that we play with every guest. We start off with 5-second rule. So Al, what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you name 3 of a certain thing. You have 5 seconds to name it. If you don't get it, it'll go to Mikey D. Then it'll just go around the whole corner. If none of us get it, we're all just morons. That's just the way it works. So what I want you to do, Al Snow, is I need you to name 3 characters in Stranger Things starting now.
Well, I tap out right now because I've never even watched it.
Mikey D, go.
All right, Mike.
There were several kids. There was a sheriff, and there was the underworld something. I don't remember the names.
Psycrotes is like, no. Mike, do you know anything?
No, I've watched this. As a matter of fact, my profile picture on Netflix is the kid from Stranger Things.
Is it the only thing? The only thing I know is the Demigorgon. That's it. The
11 is one of them.
Oh, 11. Yeah.
The 11. Chick. 11. The little girl.
Yeah.
Jay Baller, Katie Grove.
No. We're not going to name off other people you have heat.
We should know this during the Netflix quarantine is all we ever did, but that's okay.
And then game 2 pretty much is incoherent. So Al, what I'm going to do is this card right here. It's basically in drunken lingo. You need the best to your ability. Sound out that card. Say it out loud. Say it quick. And
my anaconda toned.
There's 2 hints on the back. If you need the hints, let me know.
I need the hints.
All right. So one hint is Nikki.
My anaconda tone. Yeah, I should be able to read this. I live in Kentucky, so
this makes a lot.
Give me the second hint.
The second hint is an expression of one's sexual disinterest. And also, it's a part of a famous song.
Sure makes a lot.
My Eastern Kentucky is kind of weak these days, man. I can't pull it up.
It's my anaconda don't.
Oh my God!
Wow.
So here, let me get this unpinned so we can go back to.
You didn't do a sufficient accent there. You got my anaconda don't.
All right, so let me get that off that gallery view. Go back to that. All right, and then we end the game with: have you ever played Cards Against Humanity?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to name off one of the blackface cards, and then we'll give you 4 options on which you.
I might get in trouble for this.
So the blackface card is: money can't buy me love, but it can buy me blank. And your options are warm, velvety Muppet sex, hunting white men for sport, a hateful 30-year marriage, or the harsh reality that all horses are people in horse costumes.
Okay. I'm going to go with, boy, that's a tough one between warm, velvety Muppet sex. That would be awesome.
No way Muppets.
I mean, let's be honest. It's not like none of us have not experienced warm, velvety Muppet sex every time you put a sock on your hand. So I'm going to go hunting white people because I hate white people.
I think if I had for some reason the harsh reality, all horses are people in horse costumes. That's my favorite. I like that for some reason. I don't know why.
Some guy wears like a super tall trench coat. And some guys with their shoulders.
Yeah. And of course, Mikey D from the Dirty Ugly Wrestling Podcast. Of course, he's joining us. He has his own. Make sure you check out the Dirty Ugly Wrestling Podcast. He came on to moderate Al Snow and Psycrotes before Psycrotes lost his mind and didn't know where the fuck the computer was. And
he took his pants off at one point.
Actually,
What the hell was that?
He was cutting a promo with his midsection at some point there.
And Mikey, what all do you have for Al Snow? I know you have a couple things on the docket for Al.
Yeah. I just wanted to jump back. There was a lot of interesting things, interesting points, but I know you and Mick Foley have had that. There's a storied, the story that we see on all the WWE DVDs and on Peacock and all that kind of stuff. But I just want you to kind of talk about Mick Foley in the ring as a performer and then behind the scenes, that whole relationship.
Well, in the ring as a performer, I mean, let's face it. I mean, he's incredible. Mick, he really knows how to deliver on who he is and why he does what he does, and that's what makes him so, entertaining to watch. And I'm complimenting him, and believe me, it's paining me to no end. I mean, it's like pulling my teeth. For whatever reason, and I'm not trying to brag, but like Mick and I really genuinely have an on-air chemistry. And part of that's that we really are friends in real life, but we started a verbal competition. We scored it like a boxing match where you get jabs in, you get a good right hook, or you'd get a standing 8, or you knock people out. And, we used to do it just in the car. That was the rule. We would only do it in the car. We wouldn't do it in front of other guys. And then one day when Bob Holly was riding with us at a Denny's in Philadelphia, that's where it turned, because I knocked him out. I knocked Mick out in front of Bob Holly. And then ever since then, Mick's taken it publicly. And that was, we were in Denny's, and I said, "Hey, Bob," I said, the last time Mick and I were here, Mick ordered pigs in a blanket, and the waitress brought him a picture of his parents in bed.
Yes.
And Mick's the kind of guy, I love him dearly, but Mick's the kind of guy where he can dish it out, but he can't take it.
But Mick is also the guy that in his first book in 1999 had a chapter titled "The Legend of Al Snow." Penis Suplex.
Oh yeah.
What's Al Snow penis? Wait, what?
Some woman in Louisville just brought it up. My wife brought it up, and I was like, "Oh, listen, Big Jim and the Twins, the Dick Mango Trio, made numerous public appearances around the world. I don't know why, but in Kuwait, Montreal, Louisville, Kentucky, Phoenix, Arizona, Detroit, Michigan." There ain't many towns that, old Big Jim and the Twins ain't showing up somewhere. So
Mick with his missing teeth. He was like, he was so giddy. He was like, yeah. He was like, robin's egg in a bird's nest.
Oh yeah. Button. I've also had it called button on a fur coat. Let me in my defense. Okay. In my defense, okay. Number one, okay, when you're physically active, things kind of pull up in you. Number two. Okay. Number two, it was the middle of winter in an ice arena in Montreal. Number three, my junk was exposed to 20,000 people while I was upside down in the air. I don't know about your junk, but mine is not all about doing a public appearance, but it will show up a lot. But when it does, it's not coming out like, "Hey guys, look at me."
Could you imagine people in the crowd? They were probably like, "Is that it? Yeah, it is." Hey,
they did. Here's the whole story. Okay, here's the whole. I'll tell you the whole story. All right, because Mick's such an ass. I swear to God.
It always comes back to that.
It does. Well, he has no ass on the back of him. It looks like he backed up into a belt sander and wood shop. So.
Goes in. Yeah, he does not have an ass. Yeah.
Oh, he used to put pictures on milk cartons and be like, "Have you seen my ass?" Because it was missing. So, when Bob and I would wrestle, we were married together for quite a while on the road. And Bob would every night, he would put me in a vertical suplex and hold me up there for a long time. Well, listen, first thing you do is don't let me get bored, because I'm going to find a way to entertain myself. So Bob would put me up there and he'd turn all four sides and I'd start pointing at his crotch and holding my fingers like, he's got a tiny dick, right? And after a while, I started acting like I was, yanking him off. And Bob never knew what I was doing. He'd hear the crowd laughing as he was holding me up, right? He never knew what I was doing. And like one night, he got so mad at me because he suplexed me and I did the Homer Simpson cell or the curly where I just started spinning in the ring. And he kept kicking me, like trying to make me stop. And the more he kicked me, the more I'd do it, just kept laughing. And he got more mad. So finally, Mick stooged me off and told Bob what I'd been doing one night. And so we were in an 8-man tag. We were in a 4 corners tag. It was the Dudleys, Bob and Crash. I think it was Edge and Christian. And then me and Steve Blackman, I think Steve Blackman and I. And or it was Mick and I. And Mick had Bob aside and I knew something was up, And so at that time, with that particular gear, I didn't wear undergarments. So I knew something was up. So I tried to avoid getting in the ring with Bob all night. And then all of a sudden, Bob got tagged in with me and I was like, oh, it's on. And so we get into it and Bob hooks me and he was so strong. I tried to keep him from suplexing me and I went dead on him and he just picked me up like it was nothing. So I'm like, well, I'm stuck up here. And so one minute I'm upside down. The next minute, Bob grabs my trunks and just goes and opens them up. And there we go. And then proceeds to start spinning in a circle so everybody in the building could see it. And nobody realized what it was. So I started reaching upside down, trying to cover my nether regions with my hand. Then everybody started laughing. So that's the legend of the penis suplex.
Anything can happen in the WWE is what they used to say.
How many people in their life can say 20,000 people full of an arena see their penis?
Yeah.
Well, quite a few, actually. There's been...
And of course, we're on Facebook Live. And of course, our good friend, Hollywood Bob Star. If you know Hollywood Bob Star, he's shouting out. He's like, "Oh, Al,
Bob Star."
Yeah, so Bob Star from WCW. So he's shouting out, saying,
Playboy Bobby.
Oh, tell him I said hi, please.
I sure will. He's watching live. He didn't know it was live. He's like, I didn't know this was live.
He missed our segment.
Yeah.
Listen, I got a better of the yam bags and the snake from the Garden of Eden getting shown before that too. So years ago, we're in Kuwait, okay? And it's me and Marty Jannetty and the Bushwhackers are we're sitting in front of a former palace we're all staying in as a hotel. And we're sitting on the ocean on the Persian Gulf. And we're sitting in lawn chairs and I'm reading the book, okay? Because I actually read. I know a lot of people out there would be surprised that a wrestler would have the IQ and the capability of doing that. But
yes.
And I can do it without moving my lips as I am reading. So, so I'm sitting there reading, right? And this American lady who had married a Kuwaiti comes over with her 2 kids and she asks to take photos. So she takes a photo with the Bushwhackers with her kids, takes a photo with Marty. And then, okay, and just so we're aware, okay, I want you to understand, I wear man shorts, okay? I don't wear those culottes that everybody wears, which are basically essentially jeans that are cut off to the bottom of your knee. I mean, why even waste the time?
Yeah, shorts.
And when I mean man shorts, we all know what I'm talking about because back in the day when men wore real shorts, and I mean shorts, okay? The only time you ever saw another man's, when you were growing up as a kid, let's be honest, guys, the first time you ever saw another man's testicles was your dad was at a family reunion. He stuck his foot up on a picnic table.
Yes.
It was my uncle, but yes, that's very close.
Exactly right.
Damn right.
It was my uncle. Yep, the old deviled eggs came rolling right out. So
don't even know, just standing there. Go ahead.
Right, so I got my 70s shorts on. I back up in the lawn chair so that I can, take a picture with the kids. I'm sitting there, I'm smiling, and they walk off. Marty and the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch, start cracking up. And I'm like, what are you doing? What's so funny? And they're like, look down. And of course, the Dick Mango trio are hanging out. And I've just taken a picture with my junk hanging out with a couple kids. So luckily there's no internet or anything like that. So, but the next day, about 6 a.m., I hear a slide underneath the door of the room, and I get an envelope, and I open it up, and it's a note from this lady. It says, "Hey, I'm a professional photographer, and I was developing the films, and I noticed when you took a picture of my kids, something wasn't quite right. So I just wanted to assure you that I was destroying the photo." And I'm like, well, thank God. So yeah, my junk has made international appearances all over the world. So
That's very kind of her.
That's great. And of course, we're running a little short on time, so we're going to let you go in a little bit. But of course, the ECW arena, I had the honor myself to be able to work in that arena. It's one of my favorite arenas that I've ever worked in. And being in South Philly, now you see a lot of shit. Like me, for one, we were going to, it was the Trent Acid Memorial Show, and Trent Acid passed away for CZW. We're driving down, we see some lady just looking at the ground, and she had a German Shepherd. And we look back up, the lady, the German Shepherd's gone. And then next thing we know, she jumps on the hood of the car, and she has no teeth, and she looks like a zombie. And where the ECW arena is, when you go in through the back, it's very easy to go into the wrong parking lot to a different building. And so we end up going, and she's just on the car, and we're like, and I'm with Matt Wild.
Fantastic. Isn't that not awesome?
Yeah. And Matt Wild's like, what do I do? I'm like, go in reverse. She's like, so we go in reverse, and it's like a movie. She rolls off, gets up, she looks like a zombie, and she's just chasing after the car. And I'm like, go.
Tremendous.
The next lot is fucking ECW arena. So we whip into a spot, hop out, she's still running, and run into the back of the arena. And everybody's like, what happened? We're like out of breath. We're like, there's a zombie out there. And they're like, what the fuck do you mean? They're like, oh, you mean the lady that's on crack that's like there every day? So what?
But the question is, Ray,
what you do is you hold the door open so she can rush into the locker room. You don't leave her outside.
Now, Al, what kind of experiences like that
that's
have
a
you
typical
had?
Come on.
Come on. What would you say is some of your wildest road experiences while you've been out on the road?
Oh God, where do I start? That's the best thing. I mean, and especially as the business, as I've gotten older, the more I've appreciated the ridiculousness of the life that we all live.
Yes.
It just, I can tell you guys so many different stories. I mean, of just the night that I had 6 midgets in a van and they got drunk, and
seems like the start of a great porno
episode.
I mean,
6 midgets in a van.
Yeah.
I mean, I did Dewey Brown, and I got so many stories, and some of them I can't tell, because thank God there wasn't, phones and cameras and social media and all that kind of stuff.
I was about to say, when you were in that height of the career of the whole ECW, WWE, the House Snowhead, if there was Facebook, Twitter, something like that back then, oh my God. I mean, just how that stuff got around, as it got around without all that stuff, imagine where all that would be going.
98% of the guys that that were stars in the wrestling business wouldn't be around anymore. Right. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different time, and I broke in when I broke in '82. Most of the people in the wrestling business they were probably some of the most intelligent, most creative people I've ever met, quite honestly, and truly some of the most classy. And what I mean by classy is they could have a conversation with the president of the United States, walk right out, meet a guy who doesn't have a pot to piss in, and not make that guy feel any different than they did when they spoke to the president. And but they were people that were so eccentric, and they were so eclectic that if they weren't in the wrestling business, they wouldn't be a functional part of society, and would probably somewhere at some point in time end up in prison. I mean, they were unique, creative, twisted individuals, and I always say that you have to have a little bit of madness to be in this business.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you got to go down the rabbit hole with Alice in Wonderland to be a professional wrestler, and I, more so this than anything else, because, think about it. Not even in Hollywood or in, any other entertainment industry are you required to physically literally beat the living shit out of yourself for an audience's entertainment, and then have them all tell you it's fake, and
be so displeased. Wrestling fan, and to be honest, wrestling fans are some of the worst fans on the planet. Like, you could literally
no, they're not.
Throw head off, throw it in the crowd, and they'll hate it. Like, it's like
no, and that's all of the wrestlers' faults today. And I'll tell you why.
Where it is,
I'll tell you why. No ifs, ands, or buts. The wrestling business has always been and always will be the wrestler's business. But you guys give it away. The internet's not the problem. You are the problem. Social media is not the problem. You are, and how you use it. Because you, unlike you, magicians don't sit there and do their magic act and then tell their girlfriends how they did it to get themselves over. They don't tell their buddies. Okay. They keep it protected. Now, we all have known, everyone has known that wrestling is predetermined.
The 1930s.
And that magic's not real, that you're not altering reality or defying the laws of physics or gravity. But the difference between magic and wrestling is, wrestling, we give all that information away. And let me tell you something. The more familiarity breeds contempt, and you have made your audience as familiar as possible with things to where they are as contemptuous of it as possible. And that's your fault. Because at the end of the day, it's your business and it's your responsibility. And you have been lacking in it terribly. You sold them who you were and why you were doing it. And then on the internet, you told them, it's all bullshit. Don't worry about it. So what do you expect? They're going to be contemptuous of the very thing because of the fact that you are as well.
Well, we've heard guys say we missed the days when the marks were all in the crowd.
And
that's why we got the rails up around the ring. That was used to keep the marks out. Now it's to keep the marks in the ring.
And that's the thing. Like we discussed at the beginning, there's so many people who have their own companies. Like any mark promoter can start his own company and hire all of his buddies and have them work. And
he's seen it all. He knows.
Trust me. And that's the thing. And
he's worked for Hack Indies. He's worked for major promotions. He knows it all. Yes.
And of course, we're starting to run out of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to let Al go ahead and get out of here. Mikey, thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out the Dirty Ugly Wrestling Podcast. We share a lot of their stuff often. Of course, thank you for Psycrotes for coming up.
Let it be known that the High Priest and Al Snow are buds now.
We're good. We're good, man. Thank God.
And of course, thanks for Al Snow. We will be live again next Sunday. Our guest is going to be Bubba Almany. He's a celebrity bodyguard. He's going to be promoting his basketball game, his charity basketball game he has in August coming up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap. Al, would you be able to hang out for a second afterwards?
Yeah, real quick. If anybody wants to follow me on social media, it's The Real Al Snow on all social media platforms, and OVW at ovwrestling.com and at aswa.live. I've got a comic book out. It's at Broken Icon Comics. And if you want to watch OVW TV, it's live from 7 to 9 every Thursday night on Fight TV. Not to mention, we're in 150 million homes nationwide and about 700 million homes around the world. So I think I got it all out there.
I definitely want to ask you about that.
One more thing before I dip out. WWE Hall of Fame. Are you looking forward to the nod, Al?
I'm not going to get the nod.
Come on.
Oh, no, it won't happen. That won't happen. I mean, I'm flattered that somebody would think it, but let me tell you something.
You left more than a thumbprint on the business, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, well, I've also left an aspirin on the business. So.
Sometimes that's better.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you're a Hall of Famer in our book, Al. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. And I thank you for the time. I enjoyed the interview. And it was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, everybody watching at home. We are going to go ahead and wrap it up. We are going to have a little bit afterwards. If you want to check that out, make sure you check out our Patreon. Everybody, we will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Happy Hour podcast right here on Facebook Live and wherever else you find your podcasts.